911, what is the emergency?
Hi, it's Sixth Circle Court in West Valley City. Delta 5-2, copy of patrol assist.
Delta 5-2, go ahead.
Respond to South Circle to assist patrol on a missing family. Susan and Josh Powell, last name.
Welcome to the Escape Safe season powered by 1088 podcast. This is episode 14, and it's a season focused on domestic violence and intimate partner abuse awareness based off of the 2009 investigation into the disappearance of Susan Cox Powell. I'm your host, Ellis Maxwell. I lived it, I investigated it, and now I talk about it because I believe awareness saves lives. So let's get started. We are on January, I think we left off January 13th, 2010. And we're up in the state of Washington where we interviewed a number of people, friends, family, witnesses, stuff like that. And we're getting into a conversation with Josh's sister. This is a really cool one. This one's a lot of fun. She reaches out to me and calls me and says, "Hey, I'm flying up to Washington here in about 9 days, and I want to confront Josh." All right, cool. Let's do it. Let me know how it works out. No, I want you to put a wire on me. Send me into the house and record it while I confront Josh. And I was like, "Ooh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah. You're comfortable doing this?" Yeah. All right. Well, I can't make all the decisions in this investigation. There are many pay grades above me. And so let me go talk to my supervisor and administration, and we'll get back in touch with you. And so essentially that's what I do. Get with the bosses, the attorney general or the district attorney's office, and we have this little powwow, and we all agree. Everybody agrees. Everybody's on board. And so the next step is to reach out to the authorities and the courts in the state of Washington because the laws are different there. Okay. And what is different is here in the state of Utah, it's a one-party consent. And it's when you're recording a conversation. Okay. So what that means is you and I are all recording, we're on a phone call. I can record a phone call without your permission in the state of Utah or vice versa. Now, in the state of Washington, that is not the case. That's illegal. And so you have to have two-party consent. So basically, we would have to get everybody's consent in that household in order to send somebody in wired to record. Okay, well, what good's that going to do if we have to tell them, right? Hey, we're recording the conversation, just so you know. Everybody's going to behave themselves, right? They're not going to say certain things. So what we have to do is we have to go to the courts. We have to get a court order, and they have to approve it. And so we start working towards that direction. Really exciting. And I was totally looking forward to this operation. His sister was optimistic, and really at the end of the day, what does anybody have to lose? I mean, Josh isn't talking to us, the cops, anymore. And so, yeah, I mean, what better person? And I was uber grateful that she came forward with that and was willing to, put herself at risk, in my opinion. I mean, going into that household and confronting Josh and not knowing how that is all going to play out is kind of a little sketch. All right, January 14th, it's a Thursday. And I met with one of Susan's sisters for an interview on this day, and she had reported that her and Susan, they were pretty close back in the day, growing up, and and early adulthood and all this and that. But over the years, their relationship kind of became a little more distant. And she had said the reason why is not because of just Josh's controlling husband, but she apparently had one on board as well. So between two controlling husbands that didn't want these two girls conversing and coming together, they kind of became a little bit more distant. And we'll hear of that in this interview. She reported a time in August of 2007 where Susan told her, "He will kill me before I could leave and have those boys." Whoa, really? Man, yeah, 2007, folks. We've heard what was going on in 2007. She was pretty. That must have been the roughest year for them. I mean, you've got to be picking up on these patterns as well. Anyways, she reported that Josh and Susan's relationship had problems from the very, very beginning. She saw the controlling aspects of Josh, and it always led to their verbal arguments. So she picked up on this behavior early as well. And there was some people that had. She delivered the same message as pretty much everyone else has during this trip. She didn't care for Josh, how he treated Susan, his lack of involvement in helping her with the kids, and his lack of kindness towards Susan. She expanded on this by saying that he always is spending time on his computer. He never cooks, cleans, helps Susan at all with like household chores or anything. I mean, how many times have we heard this? Even from Susan's own writings, right? She stayed with him because she thought he would change one day. Ah, damn it. No, people don't change, folks. I'm going to say that. I don't know how many times throughout the series of this podcast of Escape Safe. In this particular case, man, people are who they are. They're not going to change. And the other thing is she didn't want to break up the family. And I understand these things, but for the benefit and the health of yourself and your children, it's a must. You've got to. Otherwise, this cycle's going to just continue. She spoke of a time when she visited Susan recently in 2009, and she was really excited to spend some time with Susan. However, when Susan got up to the state of Washington and was with her sister, they were only there for about 30 minutes. And then Josh forced Susan to leave with him and wouldn't allow her to spend any time with her sister. Yeah. Again, isolation, coercive control, completely not acceptable, right? I mean, come on, man. This is your family. You know, now why? Let's talk about that briefly. Why is it that he is keeping her from spending time with her sister? Why is it that he has problems with Susan spending time with her sister? You know, talking to her on the phone, spending time with her in person. Like what is his reservation with this? Well, I have no idea, but the one thing I came up with that I think is that maybe over the course of his relationship with Susan, he maybe has paid attention to their conversations or whatnot, and he has an idea as to what they're talking about, and maybe that conversation includes him and what a dipshit he is and controlling and just rude and doesn't help her with anything. He's just not existent. And, you know, maybe that's what he's trying to control. He's trying to, he doesn't want her having these conversations with her. He doesn't want the two of them collaborating and being like, yeah, that's not right. That's inappropriate. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. I'm wondering if that's probably part of it. That's certainly part of it, right? That's why these people isolate their partners from their support system, because then now that reduces the risk of bringing the true reality to the victim from the outside. They want to keep them away from it, keep them in their little spider web, gaslighting them and leading them to believe that they're the ones that are crazy, that it's them, it's all their fault. That's why they isolate. That's why they isolate them. All right, carry on. Met with the sheriff's office today. We finished up the court order, went over the wire operation, the plan to confront Josh at his father's residence. Came up with some code words that we're going to share with Josh's sister. So we did some code words that we came up with that we'll share with Josh's sister in the event that she needs to be saved and escape safe. We kind of just put together the plan, man. We have a couple of patrol officers that are parked really close by in the event that Josh's sister yelps out the code word. The patrol units could be there real quick, and then the plainclothes detectives, we would be just maybe a street or so away listening in. So, yeah, so we kind of worked on that today. It was kind of fun. And if you haven't noticed, the last episode and this episode, we haven't really discussed any tip calls, right? I mean, I kind of miss them. I mean, some of them are informative, and some of them are funny, and some of them are just like kind of scratching your head like, what the hell? But we haven't, that's it, man. These tip calls, they've really kind of dived off, and just not a lot of activity going on. And so, and I think, part of that is, we would see, from what I remember, we would see kind of a bump in these tip calls based off of the media, right? So, and the media was all over this case. I mean, this case not only was local to the state of Utah, it became a national case in the United States here, but it also became global news. There was an image that I have that was taken outside of the police department, and it was just covered with news media trucks. I mean, we had media from outside of the country. It was wild. So, but when this media would come up, new news, or if the news was like, hey, any new changes, they come up with something, or if Susan's family was in the news, then that would kind of spark the community's involvement, and we would see kind of a tick up on tip calls. But if there wasn't any of that going on, then no tips. January 18th, it's a Monday. So just finished up the paperwork for the upcoming wire operation in Washington. Started working on a probable cause statement for a court order to interview Charlie for a second time. So we, in the state of Washington, we have to have a court order from them, because if we go to a parent and say, hey, we would like to interview your child, and they say no, then we can't. So then we got to go and get a court order. So we already know what that answer is going to be. So we just went and got the court order right out of the gate, so that we can do that sooner than later and see if Charlie will talk to us, or right? Like the last episode, we had spoken to a teacher that was doing a primary class, right? And Charlie was flipping the light switch off and on, and his response to her was, "My mom's dead." Wow, well, that's pretty blunt. That's pretty blunt, man. Like, where are you coming up with that, right? So we're kind of hoping that maybe he'll be able to talk with us and share with us some more information. Let's see. January 19th, started working on probable cause statement for a search warrant on Josh's dad's mobile phone. Okay. So why Josh's dad's mobile phone? Why Steve's phone? Well, at this point of the investigation, it really appears that the closest person, and I would have to say it, his best friend is his dad, really. That's like his closest male friend that he's like constantly in contact with. And so with that, we also have Steve, who has expressed this crazy infatuation and love for Susan that's just completely abnormal, right? So you have that. Then we also have, as we learned earlier, that Stephen had taken off a couple of days off of work from when he discovered that Susan was missing. And this time frame that he took off, it was around, I think it was the 9th and the 10th of December. Well, Josh, he was missing the entire time on the 9th, right? So now we're starting to go, okay, well, this is crazy. What if these two met up, right? What if these two met up, and what if Steven has something to do with all of this? I mean, you just, in police work, you don't know, and you can't assume, and you can't be like, oh, no, that wouldn't happen. You've got to look into it all. So yeah, we're writing a search warrant for his cell phone so that we can kind of try to see where he's at, what he's doing, who he's talking to, and where that cell phone's pinging at. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Spent the rest of this day working with the state of Washington, the authorities, the sheriff's office, the attorney's office, the judges. They are just keep coming at me and the sheriff's office. They're coming at us with questions in regards to the wire operation that we'll be doing in a couple of days. That's a pretty big thing, man. It's a you have an expectation of privacy as a citizen of the United States, right? And each state is a little bit different on what that expectation of privacy is. And in the state of Washington, it's you have to have that court order, and they're not going to just, sign these court orders and hand them out like Tic Tacs. They're going to go through them. And so, yeah, how to navigate that pretty much most of the day. On that day. Okay, January 20th. This was a day full of interviews, more interviews. I mean, we talked to so many people in regards to this investigation. I mean, that's at this point of the investigation, that's where we're at, man. We're searching for her, following up on tips. Where you search? Well, we search where tips are taking us and where we think he could have gone, right? And with all of his talks of mines and disposing of bodies in mines and stuff like that. And so that's that. And outside of that, we got to talk to people. We got to talk to everybody and anybody. It was reported by some of Josh's former friends that he was a nice guy, anal retentive, and obsessive compulsive prior to meeting Susan. However, after he met Susan, Josh cut these friends out. Like, they never ever saw or spoke to him again. And they were like pretty close, according to them. They were relatively close and spoke often. But once Josh hooked up with Susan, that all came to a quick end. They never heard from him ever again. Didn't even get a wedding invite. Yeah. What does that say? I mean, you as we continue on with this investigation, you'll start picking up on these patterns, and it's pretty interesting. let's see. A noticeable pattern of Josh's that I started picking up on. Speaking of patterns, here we go. Right, that we've learned at this point in the investigation is that he attends church when he wants something. He wants something from the members, or he wants something from the church. And in this little bit with a Washington state bishop, Josh randomly shows up at his office, and he's saying that he is the, you ready for this? This is how he presented himself. He's the husband with the missing wife in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's how he pitches himself. That's how he identifies himself in the state of Washington to this bishop. And that's all he ever spoke of Susan. That was it. He never said anything else to this bishop about Susan. Now, why is Josh visiting the church? Well, it's because he needs something, right? And according to this bishop, Josh is wanting help finding a job. He wants food assistance, and he wants help unloading his U-Haul. Yeah. Yep. And so the bishop does, what he can to help Josh, and bless him. That religion is beautiful in that way. They will help people. But the bishop shared with me that he had later discovered through the members that had helped Josh unload this U-Haul, that Josh basically, he didn't unload nothing. He didn't do anything. He basically stood by and directed everybody what to do and where to put his stuff in the storage unit. He didn't do anything. He basically had them do everything, and he just kind of stood around. And that sounds like it was pretty common. But yeah. He basically goes to church when he needs something. And we're going to hear that again. I swear it comes up again and again and again. So he spoke to a witness that was in Susan's phone contacts, because as I think we talked about this already, we're going through her phone contacts, and she reported that Josh was weird. He would only attend church when he wanted something. Here we go again. The last time that she could remember that he attended church was back in the summer of 2009, when he was showed up because he wanted people to come help finish his deck. So that was the last time she could remember him showing up for church to basically ask for help of some sort. And they also reported, now this one's very interesting, and it kind of aligns with the whole premeditation type thing. And which is really hard to kind of pinpoint when exactly this was taking place, because I almost feel like we've had this conversation before, and I feel like he was starting to he was premeditating. He was kind of working on somewhat of a plan at least a year before, right? And so in this interview, they had mentioned that Josh had attended church the last 3 to 4 weeks prior to Susan going missing. Yeah. And basically he showed up. He didn't ask for anything. He showed up on time. He stayed for the entire services. He didn't step out early. And she mentioned that this was completely abnormal and out of character for Josh, because he was never on time to church, and he never would stay the entire service. And when he did show up, he was always showing up wanting something from somebody or the church, a member or something, right? And so this really stood out to them, to her, that these last 3 to 4 weeks, he was on time, staying the entire time. Now, why is that, right? I mean, he didn't go to church the day that Susan went, right? Remember, he stayed home, but He cooked her a meal. He was comforting. He was kind. He poisoned her, probably. But here he is 3-4 weeks prior going to church on, yeah, man. Like, I mean, this guy, he's working towards it and he wants to be looking good, or is he just trying to, maybe he's trying to look good for everybody else for when she goes missing. I don't know. Maybe it's just his way of navigating the butterflies and the nervousness of what's to come. And maybe that's what it is. Yeah. So she mentions Susan had shared with her about her marital problems with Josh. However, recently, she had been sharing with her positive aspects, right? She's been paying her tithing. She's been spending money on items that she needs for her kids to feed them at the store and what she needs as well, and all of this. So she's been sharing positive things as far as what she's doing for herself, take care of herself and her kids. And the other thing that she had mentioned was that, and this just validates what I'm sure Susan told her, but, she didn't have access to any of the computers because she didn't have the passwords. So a detective followed up with a witness on this day and discovered that they were, they were in in-home daycare. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So basically is what they shared with us, that Josh had dropped Charlie off with them at least on 2 occasions after Susan had gone missing. And they had Charlie for a few hours. They wouldn't take Braden because he was still in diapers, but they would take Charlie. So he goes early and he pulls the kids out of the daycare that they were comfortable with, where they had friends, right? Pulls them out of there, grabs her belongings, tells the daycare provider, thanks, but no thanks, you won't ever see us again. But then here he is going to a different daycare provider, dropping Charlie off and leaving him for a few hours after Susan goes missing. Pretty wild. January 21st, myself and my co-case, we flew back to Washington for the wire operation. Oh my gosh, people. I really wish I could have shared, and maybe down the road I'll be able to share the audio, but I don't like to share stuff without people's permission. So, and I couldn't get the permission to share this, but anyways, I will share with you what I remembered, what I got notated here. So we go up to state of Washington and we meet with Josh's sister at the precinct, at the sheriff's office. And we basically go over a safety briefing. So what this looks like is a conference room, just full of cops everywhere. And Susan's sister and her husband, and we basically just have a safety brief, man. Make sure that that she's comfortable, she's ready, answer any questions that she may have, get her wired up, go over the code word. I can't even remember what that code word was. I looked and looked and looked for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And so, yeah, just kind of put a plan in place, right? So she shows up. So we get her all wired up. She drives to the residence on her own. She gets there. And myself, my co-case, and 2 deputies, we're in a car, and we're about a street away. And we're sitting in there. We've got headphones on. We're listening to the wire. And there's a couple of marked units. They're parked relatively close by, so they can have an immediate response to the residents in the event that she needs any assistance or needs an extraction. And it's so we arrive at the residence at 5:25 p.m. That's what time we arrived there, and it isn't until 7:26 p.m. that Josh is able to, or that Josh's sister is able to isolate Josh from the rest of the family. The house is chock full. I mean, there's Josh is there, his brother Michael, his dad Steve, the two boys, and then there's a couple of other siblings as well that are in the residence. And so it's pretty active. It's pretty busy. Basically, what was going on for the 2 hours? Well, there's just a lot of talking. They had dinner, and Jennifer was able to get some playtime in with Charlie and Braden. So again, 7:26, that's when she's able to kind of isolate Josh away from the rest of the family and begins questioning him. And she tells Josh, hey man, there's rumors going around. You're going to be doing a lot of time in jail. You're going to be serving a lot of time. And Josh kind of was quiet. I think he was kind of surprised that she brought this up. And he says he doesn't know why, calmly. He said, I don't know why people would say that. And so she moves on, questions him about where he had gone the night that he left the police department after our second interview, right? He left, didn't take his van, wait for his van. He just left. So she's asking him about that, where he had gone and what he had done. And he replied slowly saying that he didn't go anywhere. And she asked him again, and he just remained silent. He didn't say anything. So then she moves on and questions him about what he had done and what happened on that Sunday. And he stayed quiet and then said, my attorney said not to talk about it. And he's not going to violate his attorney's suggestions. Common thing for Josh right there. I mean, when I heard this, I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. She then asked Josh where he put Susan, and his reply, now at this point, from what I can remember, he's starting to get annoyed with his sister. He's starting to get annoyed, and he says to her, I can't believe you're saying that. And prior to Josh exiting, he says, innocent people need attorneys too. So that was kind of like, almost seems like the last thing he said to her. And it's 7:55 p.m. when he walks out of the room. So, I mean, that's just a little bit as far as what's, goes on in that 30 minutes. I mean, there's a lot more. And like I said, if I can get permission to share that audio, I will definitely share that and put it up. But, maybe it's already all over the internet. I don't know. Let's see. She then, all right, so Josh leaves, and where's he going? Well, he has the excuse that he needs to leave and go to Costco to get a cake at this hour. And so he ends up leaving, and I think he left with his brother Michael. And so they leave, and the sister approaches her dad, Steve, and confronts him and basically tells him it's obvious that Josh is responsible. Yeah. I'm just like, oh man. Oh my gosh. That is, I mean, it's crazy, fun, but wild. And Steve immediately becomes defensive for Josh and says that it's obvious that she is out of touch with reality. And this whole situation, right? Up to this point, we're 2.5 hours in. Up to this point, it's been pretty, even when she confronted Josh, like it wasn't really like, I mean, it was intense. But now at this point, this is going straight Jerry Springer, man. Steve then orders his daughter out of his house, yelling at her, and telling her that she is never, ever welcomed there ever again. And he just straight loses his mind. He's yelling, name calling her, all of this stuff. It's really, at the end of the day, I'm sitting here smiling, laughing. I guess maybe that's my coping mechanism. But honestly, it's truly, it's awful. It's awfully sad that an adult father is treating their daughter this way. I mean, it's just utmost disgusting. And it's seriously like, I mean, I remember sitting in the car listening to this bullshit, and I'm just like, I mean, I was getting pretty excited. I mean, I wanted to go over there and just kind of maybe help Jennifer out a little bit, but anyways, he continues yelling at her as she's exiting the house into the front yard. I think all of us, we're all on edge, man. I mean, I'm hoping that somebody will say something of value, but I'm also like hoping that she doesn't get hurt at all. I mean, because it's kind of escalating. I mean, there's not just Steve yelling; there's other people yelling as well at her. I mean, they're just coming at her verbally, just verbally abusing her. Is awful. It's disgusting, and she didn't deserve any of that. But and I'm also kind of hoping that she gets out of there sooner than later. I'm like, come on, man, like just get out of there. Like, this is not going anywhere good, and I did not want her to get hurt at all. And again, as I've mentioned, Josh didn't say anything. He's not gonna say anything to anybody. Not at all. All right, January 27th. On today's date, we received a final report from the laboratory. So basically, the little blood droplets that were discovered on the tile floor adjacent to the couch that Josh had cleaned, we swabbed some of those spots. We had the blue tarp from the van, from Josh's van. There was some washcloths, a blanket / comforter, the rug doctor, carpet cleaner, and those attachments. All of these things were sent to the laboratory to see what we could find and discover. And about the only thing we did verify and discover that came back for a positive note was that the blood droplets on the tile were that of Susan's. Yeah. So, but as far as the rest of the evidence that I had mentioned, nothing came back. Like, her DNA wasn't on any of it. Nothing came back. And, I don't know, you may or may not be wondering why the washcloth, why the blanket. Well, the washcloths, those were in the bathtub the second day we went back on the search warrant. So he was using those to clean something. So we took those, had those tested. He had taken the blanket / comforter that was moved from where it was at the day prior. So we took it. And then obviously the rug doctor, carpet cleaner, and those attachments, he used that to clean the couch. So of course we want to take that and test them. And nothing came back. So January 29th, it's a Friday. I conducted an interview with family on Josh's side. Now, this is getting interesting. So they had very minimal contact with Susan and Josh over the years. They didn't live nearby. They lived out of state. They didn't live in Washington or Utah, and they didn't have any knowledge of any sort of marital discord at all. And they didn't witness any red flags. They told us we didn't witness any red flags when we were around Josh and Susan the last time they were around them. And that, I think they reported that was November of 2009 is when they last saw them. However, they did offer some really good, interesting details regarding Steven Powell. And they had mentioned that 2 to 3 years prior to Steve divorcing his wife, which is Josh's mom, he just kind of, they described that he just went off of the deep end. He became a very, very angry person. And he also started brainwashing these kids. these kids, meaning Josh and Michael and, the other siblings. And he described a situation where he basically was telling Josh and Michael, after the parents had divorced and separated and were living in different locations, he basically was telling these boys that they could break in to their mom's home anytime they wanted. If they wanted to go inside their mom's home, that they could break into her house anytime and in any way that they needed to get inside the house. Steve was trying to basically turn the kids against their mom, however way he could. Really awful, awfully sad. And, I hate that, man. I hate that. Why is it that parents, they get in a divorce and then they basically play kids against the other parents, man, or try to get them to turn the kids against the other parent. It's so junior high. It's so bullshit, man. Like, I swear, the adult people that do that, and if you're currently doing that with your kids right now and you're listening to this, stop listening to my channel because it's bullshit. These kids, it fucks these kids up, man. It really causes them a lot of problems, probably a lot of post-traumatic stress, I'm sure. You don't talk bad about the kids' mom or dad in front of them. You don't turn them against them, man. It's awful. It's awful. Let me get off my soapbox. All right. Steve directed a lot of mental abuse towards the children and their mom, according to this relative. Steve they said he was very manipulative. And they only knew Josh as a teenager. They didn't really know him as an adult because by that time they had moved out of state. But what they did know of him, they described Josh as a mini-me of Steve, his dad. Yeah. So, isn't that wild? I mean, now that right there starts to paint a picture as to why Josh behaves the way he behaves. And it goes back to support that, it's the upbringing of these kids. When they're exposed to this type of behavior, then they're going to act like that and they're going to think like that. Just, like Josh is right now, right? Susan's a piece of property. So, yeah, it's so wild. There's so at this point where what we know, right? There's a small handful of friends that belong to Josh who appear to be loyal, or they're just completely oblivious of his true nature, right? I mean, they're just a small handful. I think 3 now that I can count. However, the total number of people that we've interviewed and spoken to we're aware of the troubling relationship and information from Susan. I mean, that number just keeps climbing and keep going up. And the things that the patterns are, coercive control, financial abuse, technology abuse, manipulation, isolation, like just the whole gamut of all of this stuff. So let me say this: if you're experiencing something similar and you're ready to escape and you need some support, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline to get some support. They're 24/7. You can hop online and you can escape online safely. They have a nice escape route on there. You can call them, you can text them, do whatever you need to do to establish some contact with somebody to get some help. And that's if you're ready. That's if you're ready to get out. Because if you're not ready to get out, then, nobody's really going to be able to help you. But if you're ready, they'll be able to help you. The other option is your local domestic violence advocacy in your state. Each state has one. The other option is you can contact me over at Shield Balance Investigations. Go to ellismaxwell.com and you can connect there. We can start working towards an escape plan, or I can give you some direction, give you numbers, whatever you need. How about a message? Here's one for you. How about a message for the abusers? I want to reach out to these abusers. You know, that they could be listening. Who knows? But I want to say this: if someone you love is afraid of how you will react, that is not a relationship problem. That's a behavioral problem, and it's yours to fix. So stop hurting the person that you so-called love and take accountability for your actions. It's not weakness at all. It's not weakness to take accountability for your actions. And go get some help, man. It could be kind of like a situation like Josh. Maybe that was your upbringing. Maybe you were exposed to this type of behavior, and you're treating your partner the same way. Listen, own it, accept it, and get some help, man. Because that's not how we're supposed to be treating each other at all. At all. So if this episode gave you something to think about, share it with someone who may need some support. Awareness saves lives. Thank you for being a part of this platform. Thank you for listening. Be kind, be safe, and cheers.